They tried to silence this. Archangel Michael spoke at 1:11 a.m. with a message you were meant to miss. Open now. It was not just another moment. It was not just another hour. It was not just another restless night. It was 1:11 a.m. The hour heaven moved. The moment the veil parted, and the divine realm whispered what darkness tried to drown. You were asleep, but your spirit stirred. You didn't know why. You felt it in your chest. You felt it in your dreams. Something was shifting. Something was trying to speak. And that something was always stolen from you. At 1:11 a.m., a message came forth. A message heaven released but hell tried to delete. This is not poetic. This is prophetic. It was nearly erased, nearly blocked, nearly buried beneath layers of digital noise and spiritual interference. The enemy moved swiftly to suppress it, to scramble it, to ensure your ears never heard what your spirit was destined to receive. But heaven intervened. He intervened. Archangel Michael, commander of divine warfare, drew his flaming sword not against your enemies, but against silence itself. He warred in the dark, and this message, this sacred word, was delivered through fire. And now it has arrived, preserved, protected, prophetic. Understand this. You were meant to miss this. You were targeted to miss this. And that is why you are seeing it now. Because the enemy failed. Because the Holy One overruled the silence. Because Michael stood guard over the word you didn't even know was yours. This is not a message for the curious. This is not a message for the casual. This is not for those passing through. This is for the awakened. This is for the called. This is for the ones who have felt the throb of spiritual warfare, even when their mouths couldn't form the words. Something sacred is hidden here, and those with ears to hear will feel it like lightning through the marrow. It is encoded, encrypted, divinely timed. It comes in the stillness. It moves through obedience. It only enters when the soul is still enough to receive. If you are here, it is not by accident. Heaven brought you to this threshold. And Michael is standing over you even now. This is not a teaching. This is not inspiration. This is a divine interruption. The holy beach. A hidden revelation brought forth from the shadows when the clock struck 1:11 and the spiritual gates opened. Your mind may not yet understand, but your spirit does. You felt the tremble, the tension, the ache. You felt the pull of something bigger than you, older than you, more real than the voices around you. This is the hour that confirms it. You were marked to hear what was silenced for generations. Let the watchers hear. Let the faithful rise. Let those who dwell in shadow understand. The silence has been pierced, and the hour has come. A message that was almost stolen is now laid before you. Type I am anointed in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. This began at 1:11 a.m. when the world was asleep, when the air stood still, when silence itself trembled. That was the moment heaven chose. That was the hour written before time, encoded into the eternal, when the word would break through. Not a word crafted by man, but a command sealed by fire. A declaration. A disruption. A divine charge. This is not random. This is not vague. This is exact. You were not meant to hear this tomorrow. You were not called to hear this next week. No, the hour is now. And the heavens do not stutter. O Michael, mighty one of God, warrior of the heavens, defender of divine purpose, we call on you now. You who stand at the threshold of realms, sword lit with the breath of the Almighty, stand with us now. Let every ear that hears this tremble with remembrance. Let every heart that receives this word burn with awakening. Let every plan of darkness recoil at your roar. Let every word from your throne split through the veils and strike the soul like thunder. This is not ordinary. This is ordained. Listen closely. This is about you. Yes, you. You who have wandered through days confused and nights restless. You who have questioned your own senses, doubted your discernment, wondered why you feel what others cannot name. You who have had dreams you couldn't explain, signs you couldn't ignore, and a deep pull in your chest that something is about to break. That pull wasn't imagined. That restlessness wasn't accidental. The timing wasn't delayed. Everything was leading you here. Before the sunrise, something will shift. This is not poetic speech, it is prophetic truth. By the time the next sun climbs over the horizon, heaven will have moved on your behalf. There is no delay in the spirit, only alignment. And you, beloved listener, are aligning now. Alignment is violent to old systems. Alignment offends familiar spirits. Alignment stirs things that have been sleeping for decades. But when heaven marks the time, the earth must obey. This message came with fire. This message came with interference. This message came through layers of resistance because the enemy knew if you heard it, you would awaken. If you received it, you would rise. If you believed it, you would become dangerous. And that is why every force of confusion, fatigue, distraction, and delay tried to keep this from reaching your ears. But it didn't work. It's here. You're here. And the veil is thinning. Be warned. A spiritual interruption is upon you. And it will not wait for your schedule. This is the kind of interruption that shakes foundations. It is not designed to inconvenience, it is designed to initiate. What is stirring in your life right now is not chaos. It is a divine shaking. You are being pulled from one dimension into another. The natural will rebel. But your spirit is already saying yes. It already knows this voice. It already knows this sound. The sound of Michael in the early hours, carrying fire from the throne. Hear this clearly. This word is not for everyone. It was not scattered like seed across open ground. It was buried like a jewel, hidden in digital corridors, buried in algorithms, wrapped in mystery, waiting for you to arrive. Waiting for your spirit to say yes. Waiting for your obedience to align with your identity. You didn't stumble here. Heaven put you here. You didn't just happen to scroll. You didn't just accidentally hear this. You were summoned. You were drawn. You were activated. And now the scroll begins to open. This message was one the enemy tried to bury, tried to censor, tried to replace with noise and distraction. But it could not be silenced. Because what is holy cannot be hidden forever. What is chosen cannot be erased. And what is marked by the voice of God will always find its way through fire, through code, through shadow, through silence. It will find you. And it just did. This is the hour of awakening. This is the hour of confrontation. This is the hour where the sound of Michael stirs the blood and awakens the callings buried in your bones. Listen, child of purpose. Listen, anointed one. Before the dawn breaks, your alignment will shift. Before the clock strikes next, you will sense the atmosphere tilt. Heaven is not asking. Heaven is declaring. The alarm has sounded in the realm of spirit. The seals are breaking. The silence has snapped. This is about you. A coded word you almost missed is now moving into your bloodstream. The divine scroll is opening inside your consciousness. The realm of the unseen is giving way to clarity. Obedience is the key, and stillness, sacred stillness, is the gateway. Stop striving. Stop questioning. Stop delaying. Let the word settle. Let the fire cleanse. Let the voice of Michael pierce through the noise. Because heaven is watching, and hell is trembling. You are not here by mistake. You were summoned into this moment to remember who you are. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 777 is activated in your atmosphere. Why have you felt this unrest? Why has your chest been tight without reason, your sleep disturbed without explanation, your peace interrupted without warning? You have asked yourself these questions again and again. You have tried to quiet the storm within, blaming stress, anxiety, or exhaustion. But deep down, something in your spirit whispered a truth louder than logic. This is not natural. This is not just emotional. This is not just mental. What you've been feeling is spiritual. They don't want you to understand this. The watchers, the silent ones, the unseen eyes that have monitored your ascent, the adversaries cloaked in smiles, the ones who monitor your every step, hoping to catch you off balance. They know you're closer than ever to a spiritual surge, and that's why you've been under pressure. That's why confusion has cloaked your clarity. That's why things that once made sense now feel like tangled threads. You felt it, haven't you? That quiet betrayal from someone you once trusted. The messages that vanished. The dreams that slipped away before you could write them down. The thoughts that came to you, divine, powerful, urgent, but disappeared like smoke before you could act on them. These are not coincidences. These are not forgetful moments. This is warfare in disguise. This is spiritual interference designed to make you question yourself, delay your obedience, doubt your discernment. There were messages meant for you that never reached you. Emails that never arrived. Calls that never rang. Words spoken in secret to derail your favor. You have been maneuvered like a piece on a board by hands that think they are unseen, but they are not. Heaven sees. Heaven records. Heaven knows. The enemy has tried to erase your trail. He's tried to silence your knowing, corrupt your clarity, and create fog where there was once fire. He knows if you ever saw yourself clearly, truly, fully, unashamedly, the earth would shift. You are more than they hoped you'd discover. You are louder in the spirit than they want you to realize. And that is why the whispers came. That is why the disruptions multiplied. That is why your heart hath been unsettled. You weren't crazy. You weren't broken. You weren't imagining things. Your spirit recognized betrayal before your mind could name it. You felt the presence of manipulation before the mask ever slipped. You saw through them, and they hated you for it. The tension you feel is the residue of revelation. You saw what you weren't supposed to see. You felt what they didn't want you to discern. And the price for such clarity was war. But understand this, every whisper, every erased trace, every deleted message, every silent betrayal, all of it has added to your authority. The storm didn't break you. It branded you. The fog didn't swallow you. It trained your ears to hear even more clearly. You didn't lose your way. You found your resistance. You became immune to their games. Let your soul remember, confusion is the enemy's oldest language. When clarity is coming, he sends distortion. When purpose is near, he sends exhaustion. When promotion is at the door, he sends betrayal to knock first. But your spirit is awake now. You no longer react blindly. You respond boldly. They tried to keep this message from reaching you. They almost succeeded, but it found you. And now that it has, everything will shift. You're not standing in mystery. You're standing in revelation. If this message resonates with you and you feel moved to support, consider giving a super thanks with contributions of up to $20. Your kindness helps us bring more powerful content your way. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful revelations, exclusive spiritual insights, and timely prophetic messages. You won't want to miss what heaven reveals next. Type "I am awakened" in the comments if you feel this message. Blessing code 1414 has been released into your atmosphere. You need to know, this is not chaos. This is not punishment. This is not divine rejection. And oh, beloved, this is spiritual combat. Heaven saw it first. Michael saw it form in the shadows before you ever walked into the battle. The attack did not surprise heaven. The plot did not go unnoticed. The whispers in the night, the traps in the open field, the voices that tried to mute you, heaven heard it all before you even breathed a word. And Michael was dispatched long before the enemy made his move. They attacked your voice because your voice is anointed. Do you understand that? It wasn't just a coincidence. It wasn't just misfortune. It was targeted warfare. Your voice carries weight in the spirit. Your words echo beyond your body. Your sound, when aligned with obedience, shakes structures in unseen realms. And that is what made you a threat. You've wondered why doors closed, why relationships shattered, why opportunities slipped through your hands at the last minute. It wasn't because you weren't worthy. It wasn't because you weren't ready. It was because your calling is so divine, so disruptive to darkness, that the moment your voice would have activated, systems built on sand would have crumbled. And the enemy panicked. They tried to break your confidence so they can break your sound. Because if your mouth stays closed, your purpose stalls. But heaven has been watching. Michael has been circling. And you were never unseen. Not one tear has gone unnoticed. Not one scream in silence has gone unheard. You were not abandoned. You were watched. Closely. Intimately. Strategically. This wasn't punishment. It was a holy pause before a prophetic push. It was heaven withholding the platform until your roots were deep enough to hold the weight. It was not rejection. It was refinement. And every time you kept moving forward when you felt nothing, heaven recorded it. Every time you said yes while broken, every time you forgave without closure, every time you held your tongue while being slandered, it was counted as warfare. You are not just a survivor. You are a contender. The resistance wasn't a sign you were failing. It was a signal you were succeeding. Hell doesn't fight the weak. Hell fights the rising. And you, child of fire, are rising now. You have reached a threshold, a spiritual tipping point. The test was never about your comfort. It was always about your calling. Will you rise or will you recoil? Will you surrender to fear or step into fire? You already know the answer, even if your voice shakes when you say it. Heaven's eyes have never left you. The enemy wants you to feel isolated, invisible, forgotten. But nothing about your life has been invisible. Even when you sat alone, even when the phone stayed silent, even when the crowd left, you were surrounded. Angels encamped. Michael stood at your flank. You were never unguided. You were never ignored. Now, you must understand. This is your promotion in disguise. The warfare you thought would end you with a warfare that vindicated you. The silence that terrified you was the silence that matured you. The pain that made you question God's plan was the pain that ushered you into God's purpose. You are not in conflict. You are in divine combat. And the outcome is already written. The conflict with the confirmation. The pressure with the prophecy. And the rejection was the redirection into your rightful place. Type I am favored if you feel this truth. Blessing code 888 is now overtaking your enemies. Hear me now, a move is coming. And it will not announce itself politely. It will not wait for your permission. It will not arrive with calm. A spiritual shift is already stirring, and within the next 72 hours, the unseen will begin to take form in the scene. This is not speculation. This is not suggestion. This is declaration. There is someone, a person, a presence, a pawn of darkness or a servant of self, who is planning a bold move. It may come as a sudden word, a subtle act, a strategic silence, or a confrontation cloaked in manipulation. They have been watching you, waiting for what they believe is your moment of weakness. They think you're fragile. They think your silence is surrender. They think your stillness is stagnation. But they are wrong. Heaven knows the truth, that your stillness is your strategy, that your quiet has been communion, that your delay has been divine. Within 72 hours, tension will rise in your atmosphere. It will come in whispers, in glances, in gut feelings that something isn't quite right. You will feel it before it arrives. You may already be feeling it, the subtle increase in spiritual static, the way the air seems thicker, heavier, charged. These are not your emotions deceiving you. These are signals, warnings from the Holy Spirit that the ground beneath you is about to shift. But not in fear, not in destruction, in confrontation, in realignment. You are not meant to know everything just yet. There are still things sealed. There are still scrolls unrolled. Heaven hides certain details not to confuse you but to protect you. If you knew every tactic of the enemy, you'd be tempted to fight in the flesh. You'd be tempted to retaliate, to explain, to react. But this is not that kind of battle. This is not about being louder. This is about being anchored. Michael's wings are already positioned. His sword is already drawn. The holy ones have not been asleep. They have been tightening the protective circle around you. What you can't see, they've already seen. What you don't know, they've already prepared for. What was meant to catch you off guard has already been diffused in the spirit realm. But be vigilant. Be sober. Don't be seduced by comfort. Don't assume the quiet means the war has passed. This is the calm before a prophetic confrontation. This is the silence before the sound. There is an atmosphere around you that is charged with divine electricity. Pay attention. You'll notice unusual behavior in people around you, outbursts, retractions, disappearances, or sudden declarations that make no sense. That is the spirit world bleeding into the natural. That is darkness trying to reassert control. Do not react. Do not rush. Do not rise prematurely. This is a test. Can you stay grounded when the ground begins to move? Can you remain hidden when the storm tries to pull you into the open? Can you trust that heaven is working even when the evidence is still invisible? Let them make their move, because heaven has already made its own. Remember, not every move needs to be met with a response. Some attacks are permitted only to expose the hearts of those who were always misaligned. The next 72 hours will bring truth. Not the truth you demanded, but the truth you need. You will see behind masks. You will sense intentions. You will hear what was once hidden. Stand still. Speak little. Watch closely. Your silence will not be your weakness. It will be your weapon. Type I am guarded if you're ready for the divine unfolding. Blessing code 1441 has surrounded your next 72 hours. Be still now. Not passive. Not frozen. But divinely still. Heaven's strategy is not always to speak louder, but to bring you into silence so powerful it fractures the noise around you. Be still, not because you're uncertain, but because your certainty is rooted in one higher than yourself. Be still, because your silence is not surrender. It is surveillance. The enemy does not know how to fight someone who won't flinch, someone who won't explain, someone who won't step outside of God's timing. This is your instruction. Retreat. Reset. Reconnect. You are in a moment of sacred withdrawal, not isolation, consecration. Step back, not because you're afraid of what's coming, but because you are being positioned for what heaven is preparing. Every retreat in Scripture was a precursor to elevation. Moses withdrew into the mountain. Jesus withdrew into the wilderness. And you, too, are being pulled into the quiet, because that is where the strategy is being given. Stillness is now your strongest weapon. Not your voice, not your fight, not your presence, but your stillness. Because when you are still, heaven fights. When you are silent, Michael advances. When you do not react, the enemy loses access to your energy. You become untouchable, hidden, surrounded, elevated. The enemy wants your voice to rise prematurely. He wants you to speak in defense, to explain yourself, to fight for what heaven has already secured. But the battle is no longer in your hands. It never was. Archangel Michael stands on assignment, and his command is activated when your trust is complete. You do not need to scream. You do not need to force. You only need to obey. Let your stillness be your sound. Let your silence be your sanctuary. Declare this now in your spirit. Michael fights when I kneel in trust. And then, do exactly that. Find your kneeling place, whether physical or spiritual. Bow your heart before the Father. Lower yourself into submission. This is not weakness. This is weaponry. Because humility invites heaven. Surrender activates the sword. As you do, speak this divine mantra. I am shielded. I am covered. I am unseen by the eyes of my enemy. Let this wrap around you like armor. Let it become your response when anxiety whispers, when doubt creeps in, when delay seems to mock you. Repeat it until every cell in your being aligns with its truth. Heaven hears the language of surrender, and right now, that language is your warfare. There are angels stationed at your gates. There are swords drawn over your doorposts. The surveillance you feel in your spirit is not paranoia. It's proof that you are being watched by both heaven and hell. But only one side has authority, and that side is fighting for you. This is not the time to retaliate. This is not the moment to post, to confront, to prove your point. This is the time to kneel in radical trust. Heaven has the evidence. God has the receipts. Michael has the assignment. And your only task is to rest in obedience. Silence will shake their foundation more than any shout ever could. Because silence, when it comes from heaven, carries weight that cannot be measured. It unsettles the accuser. It confuses the attacker. It reveals the truth without you lifting a single finger. You are being trained in a higher form of warfare, a warfare that doesn't react, but governs. You are not losing ground. You are gaining heavenly altitude. You are not forgotten. You are being concealed for coronation. You are not inactive. You are being made unshakable. This is your holy command. Be still. Heaven is fighting louder than you ever could. Type I trust heaven if you are walking in divine stillness. Blessing code 1177 is covering your silence with power. You have survived what was meant to erase you. Take a breath right now, not a breath of fear, but of fire. The fact that you are still standing, still breathing, still watching, still listening, is itself a miracle wrapped in mystery. They tried to shut you down. They tried to delete you, discredit you, discourage you. But heaven refused. The grave they dug became a garden. The silence they imposed became the soil. And from that sacred soil, your wings have begun to grow. Yes, wings. Not visible to the natural eye, but unmistakable in the spirit realm. Wings of resilience. Wings of clarity. Wings of obedience. Wings born from wounds. You bled, but you did not break. You wept, but you did not withdraw. You questioned, but you did not quit. You kept showing up. And every time you did, heaven saw. Michael's son. The heavens recorded your press, your push, your refusal to vanish. There is fire in you now. A holy flame that can no longer be quenched. This is not the same version of you that entered the storm. This is not the version they hurt. This is not the person who cried herself to sleep, who begged God for relief, who felt like the silence would bury them. That version died in the fire, and what emerged is terrifying to darkness. Your becoming was scared them. You were never the problem, your becoming was. They could feel it even when you couldn't see it. That's why the attacks came early. That's why betrayal struck before breakthrough. They were threatened not by your past, but by your future. They saw the crown before you did. They sensed the anointing before you could even articulate it. And so, the war began, not because of who you were, but because of who you were becoming. You are not who they remember. You've changed in silence. You've grown under pressure. You've been transformed by truth. What once wounded you now fuels you. The insults became intercession. The rejection became redirection. The silence became sacred. You didn't just survive the storm. You absorbed it. You didn't just endure the fire. You became the fire. Let that sink in. You are not waiting to be empowered. You are empowered. The shift is no longer coming. It's happening. Right now. As you sit, as you watch, as you hear these words, heaven is commissioning you. No more rehearsing old pain. No more rehearsing old narratives. You are stepping into dominion. This is the divine transition, from defense to dominion. No more apologizing for being chosen. No more shrinking to make others comfortable. No more hiding to appease the insecure. You've been marked for movement. You've been sealed for leadership. You've been anointed to walk in what others only dream of. But it begins with a choice. To stop identifying with your pain and to start walking in your power. They can't box you in anymore. You don't fit their labels. You don't fit their expectations. You don't fit their narrative. You are heaven's contradiction, and that's what makes you dangerous. So rise, not solely, not timidly, but with the full weight of heaven behind you. Michael is not escorting victims, he's escorting warriors. And you, child of the Most High, are stepping into your mantle. What you carry is holy. What you've been through is proof. And what's ahead is divine dominion. Type I am rising in the comments if this truth is yours. Blessing code 1616 has ignited your inner flame. Now hear this, the silence wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The delays, the confusion, the stillness that made you question if you had missed your moment. None of it was a rejection. It was a divine cloak. You weren't forgotten. You were hidden. Hidden like Moses in the basket. Hidden like David in the field. Hidden like Jesus in the tomb. The world saw absence. Heaven saw incubation. This wasn't death. It was gestation. Heaven was preparing the next level while you stood in stillness. You didn't miss the move. You were the move. And now the veil is being pulled back. The scroll is opening. The seals are breaking. What was kept from you is being released to you. You are not the backup plan. You are the fulfillment. Listen closely. The mantle has been reassigned. There were others who were offered what you now carry. There were others entrusted with the same weight, the same call, the same opportunity. But they misused it. They delayed. They dishonored it. And heaven reallocated the responsibility. You, faithful one, have been entrusted with what they mishandled. Heaven has echoed your name in the throne room, in the chambers of strategy, in the ears of angels. Your name, not your image, not your brand, not your popularity. Your name has risen like incense. Your name, uttered in surrender, now carries authority in spiritual realms you've never seen. Your prayers weren't just words, they were keys. Your tears weren't just pain, they were oil. Your faithfulness wasn't weakness, it was currency. You didn't survive the silence. You harnessed it. And now heaven is unlocking the vaults. You've passed the tests man couldn't see. You obeyed when no one watched. You gave when it cost you everything. And now, the reward is not just restoration, it's revelation. You will begin to see why the pain had to be so precise, why the pressure had to be so severe. Because this is not ordinary favor. This is prophetic responsibility. The weight you're about to carry would have crushed you in your last season. That's why God hid you. That's why He broke you. That's why He rebuilt you. Because this next assignment requires someone who knows the cost of consecration. And that someone is you. This is not just a prophetic word. This is prophetic permission. Permission to walk into the rooms you were once denied. Permission to speak what was once silenced. Permission to lead where you were once overlooked. You are being released into the fullness of your name. Not the name given by man, but the name known in heaven. This pain was not pointless. This was the pregnancy of purpose. You were not being broken apart. You were being expanded. Your capacity has increased. Your clarity has sharpened. Your crown has been molded by fire. And now, it rests on your spirit. It is time. Rise into it. If this prophetic revelation stirred something deep in your soul, and you want to help us continue sharing these life-changing messages, consider supporting with a super thanks of $10. Your support allows us to bring more heavenly insight into your life. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the Support Here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful prophetic content, spiritual strategies, and divine insight delivered right when you need it most. Type I am the one if you receive this mantle. Blessing code 1717 is now resting on your assignment. Say yes to your assignment. Say it now. Not with hesitation. Not with fear. Say it with the full force of heaven echoing behind your voice. Say yes, not to comfort, but to calling. Say yes, not to familiarity, but to fire. Say yes, not to what makes sense, but to what's sacred. Your yes is not passive. It is a weapon. It is a sound wave that shatters demonic delay. It is the key that unlocks the next realm. Destiny does not arrive with comfort. It arrives with confrontation. You've been in hiding long enough. You've been waiting for the perfect moment, the clearest sign, the external confirmation, and heaven is shouting, the confirmation is inside you. You've been asking for clarity, but what you need is courage. The door is not waiting for you to knock. The door is waiting for you to speak. Destiny doesn't open to indecision. It opens to obedience. Speak now what your spirit has been trembling to emit. I am chosen. Say it until your doubt breaks. Say it until your past shatters. Say it until every voice that told you otherwise is silenced under the weight of your agreement with heaven. You are not asking permission to walk in destiny. You are responding to divine instruction. And now, the heavens are watching for your movement. Alignment begins where obedience starts. Not when everything makes sense. Not when the road is clear. Not when the money shows up or the approval is granted. Obedience is the doorway. Obedience is the alignment. You don't have to know the outcome to take the first step. You only have to trust the one who gave the word. Can you feel it? That pull in your chest. That burning behind your eyes. That sudden clarity rising inside you. That's not emotion. That's not adrenaline. That's the fire of heaven beginning to crack open the next chapter. That's the spirit stirring destiny out of its cocoon. You're not becoming. You've become. And now you must walk. Heaven is not waiting on your perfection. Heaven is waiting on your permission. Say yes. Move. Speak. Break the silence. Write what you were scared to write. Pray what you were afraid to declare. Launch what you were hesitant to start. Heaven has already said yes. The angels are already aligned. Michael is already at the gate. Destiny is not delayed. It is demanding you now. Your assignment is not optional. It is essential. You are not a spectator. You are a vessel. What God placed inside you is not a suggestion. It's a strategy. What He revealed to you in secret, you are now required to release in public. Not for applause, not for bravado, but for purpose. This is your ignition moment. This is the crack in the atmosphere. This is the hinge point where everything shifts. Your yes will collide with heaven's plan and create a force that no demon can delay. You were born for this hour. You were sculpted in fire. You were trained in silence. You were tested in betrayal. And now, you are trusted with responsibility. There is a generation waiting for your obedience. There are territories waiting to be unlocked by your movement. There are blueprints waiting to be activated by your voice. And the moment you step forward, the realm will respond. Say yes, and then act. Heaven is waiting. Type I am activated in the comments if your spirit is aligned. Blessing code 1999 is now rushing toward your obedience. At 1:11 a.m., the realm of the unseen ruptured. The silence you felt that night was not emptiness. It was transaction, divine exchange, heavenly negotiation, angelic intervention occurring in dimensions your mind couldn't comprehend, but your spirit could feel like a tremor in your soul. What you thought was just another hour of stillness was the hour heaven chose to rewrite the story the enemy tried to seal. This message was born in a courtroom. A spiritual courtroom where your name was spoken, where your case was reviewed, where your destiny was defended. The enemy stood, armed with accusation. He came with contracts, generational ones, emotional ones, bloodline agreements. But then Michael stood, sword in hand, flame in his eyes, and what was stolen began to be returned. Hear me now. What they took is coming back. What they buried is resurfacing. What was hidden is being restored. This was not a dream. This was not symbolic. This was the hour where your cries pierced dimensions. The moment your weary whispers traveled beyond time, beyond walls, beyond logic, and hit the throne room like thunder. You thought heaven was silent. But silence isn't always absence. Sometimes, silence is movement. While your mouth was closed in confusion, your spirit was interceding with groanings too deep for words. The angels heard it. The Spirit translated it. The Father responded, and the courtroom was set in motion. You need to understand this. Your weeping rewrote the verdict. Your obedience reopened sealed chapters. Your pain released a divine appeal. The tears you cried in isolation were not wasted. They were presented as evidence. Evidence of endurance. Evidence of faith. Evidence that you had not bowed, even when broken. And when the books were opened, the enemy's case collapsed. His claims couldn't withstand the weight of your surrender. His accusations were overruled by the blood that still speaks louder than guilt, louder than shame, louder than history. There was an exchange that night. Your delay for acceleration. Your mourning for movement. Your silence for strategy. What you thought was the end of your prayer life was actually the beginning of your promotion. When you felt nothing, that was when the greatest shift took place. Angels negotiated on your behalf. Not begging, not bartering, declaring, demanding, warring. The scrolls were unsealed. Your identity reaffirmed. Your assignment reinstated. You are not in delay, you are in activation. The restlessness you've been feeling is the sound of heaven's confirmation echoing inside your body. Your spirit knew before your mind could catch up. That discomfort in your chest, that weight on your shoulders, that intensity that makes no sense in the natural. It's spiritual memory. Your soul remembers the exchange, even if your mind cannot recall it. You are walking in divine justice now. Not someday. Now. The gavel has dropped in the unseen. And the verdict is, release them into destiny. What was sealed against you has been reversed. What was blocked has been reopened. What was delayed hath been expedited. You were remembered in the realm man forgets. You were defended in the space man can't see. The hour of silence birthed a new season of visibility. This was not just a dream. This was a transaction, a covenant shift, a spiritual reversal. And you were the center of it. So walk now, not as one who's hoping, but as one who knows. Because you were there, even if you didn't realize it. Your spirit stood in that courtroom. Your name echoed through the dimensions. And the exchange was made. Type I receive the exchange in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 2111 has now sealed your transaction. Justice is not coming. It has already begun. The trap they set for you is turning. The pit they dug is collapsing inward. The silence they tried to weaponize is about to echo with your roar. This is not a delayed consequence. This is a divine reversal. Spiritual justice, long awaited and meticulously prepared, has now entered the realm of manifestation. What was once withheld is being returned, publicly, unapologetically, undeniably. They thought they had the final move. They thought your silence meant surrender. They thought heaven was done watching. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, is that divine timing never misses, and justice delayed is not justice denied, is justice perfected. You felt overlooked. You felt passed over. But heaven was storing every ounce of betrayal, every slanderous word, every hidden trap. You didn't always see it, but your patience was power. You weren't weak, you were wise. You didn't retaliate. You released it. And heaven took note. Michael stood by, waiting for the command. And the moment your heart aligned with heaven's mercy, the scales tipped. Now the reversal has begun. What was taken from you, opportunities, connections, time, peace, clarity, is not just returning. It is multiplying. Because the law of the Spirit is this: to those who endure in justice and obedience, restoration shall return not equally, but abundantly. What they stole will not come back in the same measure. It will come back tenfold, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. This is not karma. This is covenant. You don't serve a system, you serve a Savior. And your vindication doesn't need to be explained, debated, or proven. You will be seen. Obliquely. Irrefutably. Those who mocked your silence will tremble at your sound. Those who benefited from your absence will feel the heat of your return. And those who swore you were finished will witness your elevation. The voice they tried to silence is about to thunder. Your voice. Not just the words you speak, but the very sound of your obedience, the frequency of your worship, the vibration of your yes to God, is now awakening dormant territories. You are walking into rooms they said you'd never enter. You are gaining ground they thought they erased. This is not revenge. This is reversal. There is a difference. Revenge is when man tries to match pain with pain. Reversal is when God turns pain into platform. Reversal is when God takes what was used against you and makes it work for you. Reversal is when every tongue that rose against you in judgment becomes your stepping stone. Reversal is when God doesn't just prove them wrong, He proves you chosen. Even now, there are tables being prepared in the presence of those who dismissed you. Not out of pride, but out of prophecy. You will not be arrogant, but you will be undeniable. The glow they tried to dim is now blinding. The authority they tried to strip is now surging. The covering that seemed silent is now roaring with recompense. God restores publicly what was stolen privately. That's the rhythm of the Spirit. What happened in secret, the sabotage, the slander, the silence, will now be reversed in plain sight. And the beauty of it is this: you won't have to lift a finger. You won't have to expose them. You won't have to argue. You won't have to post. He will do it. He will speak. He will reveal. And when He does, there will be no question whose hand moved. Not yours, not theirs, but the hand of the Lord. Swift. Yested. Final. If you believe in what we're doing and want to help us continue delivering these powerful, Spirit-led messages, consider supporting with a super thanks of $5. Every seed you sow allows us to reach more souls with divine truth. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the Support Here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Don't forget to subscribe for more revelations, urgent prophetic insight, and angelic messages. We are just getting started. Type I am vindicated if justice is moving on your behalf. Blessing code 2333 is striking your enemies in silence. You were meant to hear this now. This moment was orchestrated in realms beyond time. This message did not arrive late. It arrived at divine precision. Everything that tried to delay you only confirmed that you were worth fighting. Everything that tried to distract you only exposed the power you carry. And now you know. You were never overlooked. You were shielded. You were never delayed. You were developed. You were never denied. You are being delivered, not from something but into something. So let this be your confirmation, your seal, your closure. The voice that tried to go silent now speaks with fire. The silence they mistook for defeat has become the sound of spiritual maturity. You don't need to explain. You don't need to chase. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. You are sealed. You are seen. You are sent. This is the hour of completion. This is the hour where heaven's fingerprints become visible on your timeline. From this moment forward, you do not walk as one who wonders. You walk as one who knows the sound of your angel, knows the rhythm of the Spirit, knows the timing of heaven. Rise now, with boldness, with certainty, with spiritual intelligence. This is not just a good word. This is a green light. The clock struck 1:11, and the heavens moved. You opened your spirit, and heaven responded. Now walk, not with hesitation, not in pieces. Imagine. You carry the word that was nearly silenced. You house the scroll that was almost lost. You embody the frequency that darkness fears. The ones who tried to erase you will now witness your emergence. The ones who whispered your name in secret will hear it echoed in the heavens. The time for silence has ended. The time for stillness has accomplished its purpose. Now comes the sound. Now comes the surge. Now comes the sending. You are not who you used to be. You are not waiting for permission. You are not lost. You are light. So go into the world that thought you disappear. Speak into the atmosphere that once held your tongue hostage. Release what was given to you at 1:11 a.m. because someone else needs it. Someone else is waiting. Someone else is listening for the sound you've been authorized to carry. You're not just restored. You're reborn. You're not just activated. You're ascending. And with the authority of heaven, the power of the blood, and the presence of Michael beside you, nothing can stand in your way. This is not just a prophetic message. This is a sending decree. Your silence is over. Type I am sent if you receive this final word. Blessing code 3000 has marked your feet with fire.